Hi everyone, it's Phil with Sarros Landscaping, and I want to take you on a walkthrough of a substantially sized project. This project took roughly 3.5 weeks to complete, and it grew from what was initially going to be a retaining wall to 4 retaining walls, landscape lighting, sod, irrigation system, lots of earth moving. So let me just start here at the back of the property and kind of show you what we've got going on. The first project that we started with was going to be this timber retaining wall. This is made out of 6-inch by 6-inch pressure treated timbers, and it's about 120 feet long. At its tallest point, we're about 6 feet high, but I just kind of want to walk you through a timber retaining wall construction and how it's built. Timber retaining walls are built on the concept, let me try to get out of the sunlight here, are built on the concept of dead man reinforcement. So these pieces that run perpendicular to the face of the wall, they go back into the ground and they tee into the ground. Now what you'll see a lot of companies do is put like a 3-foot or 4-foot tee on the end of it. And the concept is that, let me try to get out in the sun a little bit more. The thought is that as pressure is put on this tee, ground pressure, it actually pulls the wall tight to the vertical surface, making it even stronger. But in reality, when you only put short tees on the back of these dead men, they tend to slip out more than anything. And when they're not real well compacted, you get a lot of settling behind the wall, which will actually move the tee up, acting as a cantilever, lifting the wall up and compromising the integrity of its structure. So rather than just put a small tee on it, what we like to do is every 8 feet horizontally along the wall, there's a dead man going back in because the timber itself is 8 feet long. So we put one going in every 8 feet and every other row vertically beginning on the second row. We tie those in the back, usually at a 1-to-1 ratio of the height of the wall. So if the wall is 4 feet tall, the dead man will go back 4 feet and it will tie in 8 feet across to the next dead man behind it. That makes really a retaining wall behind a retaining wall. It's about half of what you see visibly here. Another 50% of this is actually behind the wall. So when you're budgeting and bidding these projects, you want to account for about 50% material, additional material to serve as your anchoring and your bracing in these retaining walls. A lot of times the common number that you'll hear is 30%. But if you're going to build it the way I just mentioned it, you're going to want to add at least 50% to that wall. I just want you to take a look at how good this wall looks. I mean, this was a massive wall to build. So this thing was there's a lot of structure there, a lot of reinforcement there. We come out and we look at walls that have sometimes as little as no reinforcement in it, no dead men at all in that wall, and sometimes they're just very sporadically placed, one here, one there, and you could just tell it was built by somebody who is trying to cut corners, trying to go cheap on it. We backfill this with a lot of clean 57 drainage, number 57 drainage stone and French drain piping. Again, we see a lot of projects that are backfilled with dirt, which is acceptable if you can get the 95% compaction. But I'll tell you, on a lot of these jobs where it rains and rains, or rains at any point during the job, you got to make sure your dirt is the right consistency. If it has too much water, it's just the clay is just going to pump and move around on you. So when you're depending on the soil to be at a right moisture content, it's really hard to figure that in. 57 stone is self-compacting. You pour it in the hole and it's compacted because it's angular. It allows for great drainage behind the wall. The material cost is a little bit more, but the labor is guaranteed, and you have certainty in the fact that you're not gonna, it doesn't matter if it's wet, dry, raining or not, you're gonna be able to get that material in here, and it's gonna provide for a great structure, and you're not gonna have callbacks in the future. So project number 1 on this job was building this 120-foot long retaining wall and creating a level space up here for this growing family that we're working for. So up here we've got new emerald zoysia lawn in. This is about 6 weeks post-project now, and it's looking incredible. This grass is just the perfect color of emerald green. We've got an irrigation system in this yard. Just looks incredible back here. It's going to be such a nice usable area. Remember, this was all just sloping off at a really steep angle. So up here, this is our first of 4 retaining walls. In here, there used to be a cross tie retaining wall with some cross-tie stairs. We came in and replaced that with a veneered faced flagstone wall. We've got, you can see we've got some French drain piping to allow for water pressure to be relieved, although this wall's never really going to go anywhere. We've got hardscape lights mounted up underneath the cap of the wall, and these go all the way around, and you're going to see some more of those later. But one thing I want to talk to you about, we did finish it off with some nice decorative landscape. This was just all overgrown weeds and jungle when we got here. So one thing I want to talk to you about is the construction of this wall. The way these walls are built, they're built on a poured concrete foundation that's down here below the wall. Then there's a cinder block base, and within that cinder block, every third core, we're going to put a long piece of rebar through it, and we're going to fill that core with concrete. From there, we can take flagstone and veneer it onto the surface. So in terms of cost and of time that it takes to do this, stone is usually going to be one of your more expensive walls as compared to like precast retaining walls or certainly timber retaining walls. But within the stone category, stack stone is going to be more expensive, which is individually hand-chipped stone, and it's going to be smaller pieces going up. Sometimes they'll be faced vertically up and down, sometimes horizontally. Faced flagstone is one way to get the look of stone at a little bit lower cost, because you can take a large, this stone piece right here probably represents 2 square feet. Same with this stone. This is probably another 2 or 3 square feet. So really within one stone, we're covering 3-4 square feet at a time, where individual stones, it may take us 8 or 7 or 8 stones to get just 1 square feet because they're smaller. So this goes really fast. I won't say really fast. There's actually quite a bit of artwork and time that it does take. It goes much faster than it would in a stacked stone wall. And then so this stone here is about 1 inch thick. On the caps, we're going to go with about a 2-inch thick cap because we want them to be beefier. We want them to look heavy duty. So you can't tell on the surface that it's not this thick. It's just for the purpose of veneering it. So let's take a look quickly at the rest of the project so you can get an idea of what else we did out here. One of the future projects that the homeowners already discussed with us is the desire to change this deck. Right now there's a double level deck, lots of stair action going on. They want to eliminate this middle deck terrace, and they want to come out with a really open patio plan, which means at some point in the future we'll build another retaining wall. To be honest, this is a pretty complex deck job because we still have to get from point A to the ground level, point B, and there's a set of double doors. I don't know if you can see them up there or not. There's a set of double doors, so somehow that transition will have to take place. So I'm not going to take on more than I can handle. I do have a really talented carpenter that I'm going to turn a project like this over to and get them involved. Now, another future project down the road will be this area beyond the retaining wall. So our 120-foot long retaining wall ends right here, but this area back here is still owned by the homeowner. This retaining wall is theirs as well. So back here we're looking at another leveling project in the future with a fire pit area, which is going to look really cool. This is the part that is pretty awesome. We've got 2 stone walls and we've got a set of stone stairs coming up. Prior to us coming in, this was just a very steep sloped hillside. There was one cross-tie retaining wall in here, but it was really old, really beat up, and there was very little access coming in and out. So again, we went with this this faced, let me get out of the sun again. So again, we went with this faced flagstone veneer. So we take the flat flagstone that's normally used for a horizontal surface, turn it vertically, veneer it to the cinder block base that has the cores that are filled with rebar and that are filled with concrete. Well, again, we're using these under cap hardscape lights. One of the cool things on these hardscape lights is they have 2 adjustments on it. They have a temperature adjustment right here. So on the low end, we can adjust it between 2700 Kelvin all the way up to 3000. I believe it goes up to 3600 Kelvin. I don't see that setting there. But being that it's adjustable, the temperature setting is going to allow you to go on the low end more towards the cooler or warmer yellow tones. On the high end, it's going to be a brighter white, and it's going to put out more light, but it's going to be a little bit more of that daylight look. We also are able to adjust anywhere on the wattage from a 1/2 watt all the way up to 4.5 watts. Again, giving us better control over how bright these lights shine. So in an area like this, where we're up against a wooded tree line back here, we're not going to get much ambient light, which means at night it's going to be almost pitch black. So we're going to dial down our wattage. We don't want this to look like Friday night football lights. We want this to just to be a warm, soft, ambient environment where it's where everything is visible and it's safe and looks nice, but just doesn't look overpoweringly bright. Now, if this were in the side of the property where we had maybe some street lamps nearby, or we had some lighting coming from the neighbor's house, or there was a clubhouse behind us and some of the light came off of the tennis courts, then we'd probably turn up that wattage a little bit in order to get a brighter light to offset some of the other light that's in the area. But back here where it's dark is the ideal environment to put lights like this. Lastly, again, we finished this area with landscaping. We went kind of minimal on the plant material. This wasn't included in the original budget, so we just wanted to get some good plant material established in here. So if we have a mix of gold mop cypress, these are purple pixie loropetalum, which is a dwarf variety of a loropetalum. Trying to see what else we have back here. We've got some gumbo azaleas, pink gumbo azaleas, which is a really nice azalea. It's not an encore, so you're not going to get multiple blooms per year, but it's an incredibly hardy azalea that you're probably not going to have any problems with or need to replace, and it's not a tough plant to take care of. Going up here, I'll give you a look. We've got 31, I believe, 30 or 31 stone stairs. These are some of my favorites to use. These are Tennessee fieldstone step treads. These step treads are 18 inches deep, 36 inches wide, and they range in height. These are about 5 inches pretty consistently. You can see that one back there is a little bit taller, but they usually range in height anywhere from 4 inches up to 7 or even 8 inches. So we try to order them consistently in the 5 to 6 inch range, and that gives us a pretty even look going all the way up. I like the way that we curved these stairs going up the hillside, kind of to match the curve in the two retaining walls that we have over here. The original design or the original intent was to see if it was possible to come straight from the driveway and bring it straight down to this grass level. We tried to do that, but that was going to make for an incredibly steep staircase. So we wanted to avoid having such a steep staircase, which would have required us to have a wall on the left and right side. So it was impossible, based off of rise over run, to come straight down and not end up just digging so deep into that hillside that we would need a really awkward looking retaining wall. But by allowing us to curve this, we could adjust this radius to compensate for the rise over run, which means we can go stair, 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 and then every so often we'll have a landing. So the first three, we've got stair, 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 landing. So we've got about a stair and a half. So every so often when we need to compensate for the flatness in this, for the run in this, we could put two of these back to back and adjust for that without having it look too out of place. So then the last part of this project, and excuse my voice, I know I'm just a little raspy now, but the last part of this project is the front yard. And this was, again, an audible. So at the end of the project, as we were clearing out, they've got a pretty small front yard. They said, hey, what would it take just to clean up the front yard? So that's what we did. We cleaned out the bed over here. We put in a new emerald zoysia lawn over here. And that helped us complete the project and get it all done. So in total, this was about roughly 18, 19 days of construction. 2 guys worked on this job. So if you look at 18, say it was 20 days at 10 hours a day, that would be 200 hours times 2 guys, right? 400 hours, labor hours. I'll make sure I did the math on that correctly. But in the end, 2 guys, 20 days, and this project was done. And we subcontracted out the irrigation portion of it, and that's the only thing that was subcontracted. So I hope you've enjoyed taking a look at this large outdoor renovation and see how cool it is to take and use faced flagstone retaining walls. It's such an inventive way to introduce stone into your project without having to stack it individually. It saves time, it saves money, and it gives you that really classic stone look. Thanks. Have a great day.